Good morning and welcome. Welcome to this special town hall on Homecoming Friday. As we look out at the sea of whiteout shirts for tonight and think about the game under the lights, we're reminded of the incredible growth of Randy over these many years. Today, we have quite a few alumni who are here with us. We're so delighted to welcome them back to the school. So to put things in context a little bit for the alumni, back in the late 1980s, Randy's graduating classes were in the mid-30s for the most part. Today, our senior class is a record 102. Back then, we had 9 varsity sports. Now we have close to 30. The school's grown in numbers, buildings, and state championships over the years, and we're proud to welcome you all back to campus to share this celebratory day with you. Today, we honor an alumnus who is truly legendary. Marc graduated from the class of 1989 after having won state championship here in the 55-meter dash. He went on to run at Bucknell, among few Panthers in those days who went on to the next level. He also left a legacy as a founder of the winter track team here at Randy, and you'll see some of the track folks later on celebrating that. Although his accomplishments at Randy were impressive, it's what he did with his education and connections he gained at Randy afterwards that have been truly extraordinary. I'm sure today you're going to hear more about how Marc, along with his best friend, Vinny Guevara, founded a number of companies. These early ventures culminated in Quidizy, the parent company of diapers.com, soap.com, and wag.com, to name a few. The company was sold to Amazon in 2011 for $550 million. In fact, Marc has started and sold 4 companies over the years. He also founded jet.com, which was acquired by Walmart in 2016 for $3.3 billion. Marc is now the founder and CEO of Wonder Group, a company that's revolutionizing the food industry by creating a mealtime super app, operating a collection of delivery-first restaurants, and also pioneering a new category of food that he calls fast fine. Marc is also an NBA owner, I think as some of you know, many of you know, for the Minnesota Lynx and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he owns that with his friend and colleague, Alex Rodriguez. You'll get to hear more about his amazing career and all of that in a minute. When we started to talk to Marc about honoring him and inducting him into the Hall of Fame today, we learned that he thought we were recognizing him for his athletics alone. But Marc's successes go way beyond his track championship at Randy. For this reason, we are inducting him in the legendary, what we're calling the legendary Randy Hall of Fame. Marc is not only a distinguished alumnus who exemplifies the qualities of leadership, contributions, and creativity, but he's also achieved so much and so much that's incredible, visionary, innovative, global, and truly transformative. So joining us today to moderate a discussion is one of Marc's friends, as well a childhood friend, Preet Bharara, class of 1986. Preet served as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. In 2012, he was named by Time Magazine one of the 100 most influential people in the world. He's a co-founder of Cafe Studios and the host of Cafe and Vox Media podcast. Stay Tuned with Preet focuses on issues of justice and equity. Today, he's a partner at the law firm Wilmer Hale. We're thrilled to have Marc and Preet back on Hope Road. We're delighted also to have on the stage, I want to welcome him in a minute, Vinny Guevara, class of 1989, and Marc's classmate. So let's join in welcoming Vinny.
Wow, it's a big group. Welcome. I'm honored to have the opportunity to introduce these 2 very special people to you coming next. Preet is obviously my actual brother. Marc, you have been like a brother to me for now over 43 years. I have too many stories about each of you, but not enough time. I've lived with each of you guys. I've traveled the world with each of you. I've co-founded companies with both of you, and I've sold those companies with both of you. You have been the 2 most influential people in my life. Preet, you literally taught me how to read. And Marc, you literally taught me how to count. That is those cards and blackjack in Atlantic City. You are the 2 most brilliant and successful people I know, and I'm sure you're going to share very valuable and helpful lessons for the young people in the audience. I know that I've learned so much. But if there's one thing I want to focus on today about you two, it isn't so much how you rose to be the very best at what you do. It's about what you've preserved and maintained in doing so. You are still the same fun and funny guys that roamed these halls in the 80s. You're still the regular people. You're still grounded. You're still down to earth. You treat everyone the same with respect, from the doorman to the taxi driver to senators and US presidents. You guys haven't changed in that very fundamental sense. And interestingly, to me at least, it may be the most special thing about both of you. I've met many other brilliant and successful folks over the years, but it's rare to find that trait. To know and respect where you come from, ironically, remaining regular and normal is increasingly abnormal. So I know many of you in the audience will go on to your own great things, and I hope it's the one of the lessons that you can take away, and you'll be able to tell when you watch these two on stage today. So with that, I'm very proud to introduce my two brothers, Mark and Preet. Congrats, Mark again.
Good morning. Morning. Ranny School or the Ranny School. I always forget. I feel a lot of pressure to be normal now based on the introduction. Thank you, Vinny. Round of applause for my brother. Are there alumni here? Can you make yourselves known? There they are. This will be soon enough. Don't worry. So, Mark, it's been a while since I think you've been on the Ranny property. When we went to school here 300 years ago, this building didn't even exist.
That's right.
How does it feel to be back?
No, it feels great. I don't even recognize it. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the uniform you wore when you came to Ranny?
No, this is dressing down compared to what over here.
Um, so we have a lot to cover and not that much time. I thought I'd first, so we're going to talk about your success. Some of that has already been previewed. You're as successful a person that I know in 100 different ways. Why don't you talk about when you first came to Ranny, what kind of student you were?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could start there. So I grew up in Staten Island, New York, and moved to New Jersey when I was 10, so fifth grade. Had a thick Staten Island accent. Um, wasn't the most, academic student, we could put it that way. Although I did get a 5 on all three of my AP exams when you add the scores together. So yeah, definitely.
Wow, you struck a chord. People are like, hey, mom, I can own a basketball team too. Biology? Did you like biology?
Biology, yeah. I mean, that was, it's funny you brought up biology because that was one of probably the most embarrassing times of my time at school. So back then, um, we had a teacher, science teacher.
We had the same one.
Yeah.
You want to say his name?
I guess we would throw him under the bus. Yeah.
We don't have to. tell, tell your story.
So he used to announce the highest score on the examination, but also felt the need to also announce the lowest score on the examination. And so I'll never forget that day that he announced, and Mark Glory with a low score of 8
Out of out of 100?
out of 100. Yeah, and there was extra credit too, so it was even worse. Very embarrassing. Um, but I wasn't the best student, but also had a lot of pride and was very, very motivated. The next examination,
And how'd that go?
the highest score.
There you go.
That was, but I wasn't known as the best student, but definitely had um, shown some signs. I
Yeah,
guess.
but you grew. Look, I don't know if you know this about Mark. He's literally a human calculator. He can do math in his head that would make your head spin. And so why don't you talk about the teachers here, or any teacher in particular, that caused you to come into your own?
Yeah, I mean, the one teacher stands out. It's Mrs. Capel. So she was a math teacher here, and I was a little bit of a, not so much into academics, a little bit of a class clown, and didn't take academics as seriously as I should at the time. But in math class, she definitely was the one to like get me motivated. That she saw something in me academically and spent extra time to sort of harness that ability. And I felt like she really cared and she really wanted me to be successful, and that was very motivating and definitely helped build my self-esteem.
Yeah.
In academics. Yeah, she was very influential.
Should they be appreciating their teachers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teachers
Um,
were special.
Did you get in trouble from time to time?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in what they used to call jug. Do you have that jug now? It's like it's kind of like a detention on Saturday. Um, yeah, it was a little bit breakfast clubby. So it was the Saturday detention, but you got to play sports. So wasn't that bad. I actually liked it so much. I actually look forward to it. So which made discipline really tough, because I was like, yeah, are you going to give me a jug on Saturday so I could play sports? Great.
Well, one of the reasons, am I correct? One of the reasons you got in trouble was there was one sport that you didn't have any experience with in the water.
I didn't like swimming. No,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with a pool. No, I didn't like swimming. So we had swim class, mandatory swim class, which I sort of refused to participate in. So I, I got a lot of jugs from that.
They didn't recognize your conscientious objection to swimming. Um, so there were other sports that have been acknowledged that you were great in. Are you still fast? You're pretty fast, right?
Still pretty fast. Yeah.
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 To this day.
Yeah.
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 You
I'm
race
still-
professional ball players sometimes.
A couple of years ago at the NFL Combine. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to tell us about that?
Jerry Rice, Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson. I don't know if you know these football players, but yeah, Michael Vick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a chance to race those guys.
Right. So, but you got your start in running here.
Yes.
You joined, right? Am
I didn't
correct?
join,
You-
started the track.
That's what I was
club.
getting at. So how'd that come about?
So yeah, I was fast. Fortunately, born sort of fast. So always thought track would be a great sport, but we didn't have track at Ranny. Freshman year, sophomore, junior years. Finally, I said, wait a second, we need to start a team. So I went to the headmaster and said, uh, can we start a team? And this is Mrs. Mann, and she said, yeah, you can start a team, but you got to find a coach. So I just basically went to all my teachers in the school and said, "You run? You want to be a coach?" And they're like, they were all like, I don't run." And then Mrs. Taborn, Latin teacher, she she said, "Yeah, I run. I do marathons." I said, "Great," because we need a coach to start the team. And she accepted, and that was sort of the start of the team. And she was amazing. She and her husband both like would travel with me like on their own dime to like meets outside the state and things like that, and even beyond what the school could offer. And that was quite special too. So she definitely is a very special teacher
Yeah.
person
Mhm.
for me as well.
So one of my favorite stories about Mark that most of you probably don't know is you're not shy about trying new things on a lark, even outside of your, I guess you didn't want to try swimming, even though it was required. Um, I think you also didn't like, when we were in the school 300 years ago, the other thing that was required, mandatory, if you can believe it, was ballroom dancing. Yeah.
Yep.
See?
Yep.
Uphill both ways, ballroom dancing
Have it.
in the snow.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know many colleagues, because I ask, like that know the waltz and the cha-cha and
Does
the
it, does it
rumba
come in handy?
and the foxtrot. No, not really.
Not really. You're not doing that when you go to a basketball game? But to tell the story briefly of how one day you were at work at the bank, I think, and you're walking out and you see an Olympic sport demonstration in the lobby of the building, and you're like, "What the hell? I'll give it a shot." What happened?
You're talking about the bobsled?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bobsled team was it at the World Financial Center in New York City, and they set up a track and a sled, and the team was there, and they were raising awareness for bobsled, and they were there for a week. And they said you can push the sled, we'll time you, and the fastest time of the week gets invited to Lake Placid to the training camp. And so, yeah, the
And
next
by the way,
day,
did you have any awareness of bobsledding at that time?
zero.
Zero. Okay. So
But
it worked, raising awareness.
it, wa-
You raised your awareness.
it raised my awareness. That's right. It worked. So yeah, so I got my sneakers the next day and with my work pants and shirt on, pushed the sled. They seemed impressed with the time, but it was the end of it, and they were there for a week. And then I don't know, a couple of weeks later, I got a call and said, "Hey, did you push a bobsled at World Financial Center?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you had the fastest time, and so we're inviting you to Lake Placid to the training camp." And I said, "Well, what is it?" They said, "You go up there, we'll test you on strength and speed and agility and all this stuff." And so I said, "Okay, I'll go up there and check it out and do this test of yours." So I went up there, did this test, scored well enough that they invited me to train with the team for a month before the U.S. National Bobsled Time Trials. And so I called my work. I was in banking at the time, and I said, "Hey, um, I'm going to need a month off." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "I'm training at the Lake Placid here on this bobsled thing." And that was like out of the blue. And they thought I was crazy, but they gave me the month. And so I trained for a month, learned how to push the sled. It's all about speed and strength at the time. And then there was the time trials, and then made the U.S. national bobsled team, and had to
Yeah,
decide
just casually, like, yeah, and I made yeah, as one does.
and then had to decide whether I was going to train for the Olympics, which was 2 years away, with the team and travel the world, or go back to work.
And what did you pick?
I went back to work.
You went back to work. Okay, so that's an
I was
important
3 years into my career, and
that's an important moment. Do you regret that? What was the thinking behind leaving behind a potential Olympic medal and doing your job?
I was would have been 2 years traveling the world to do this. It's not clear
Sounds awful.
the U.S. team was going to get a medal. Or they wound up getting a medal, 2 medals, um, but yeah, I was 3 years into my career. I was very motivated. You know, I really liked working. I
Yeah.
was never a big student, but I definitely liked working.
Yeah.
And
So can I ask about that because we're talking these. Look, my brother and I and Marc drove down here from the city this morning, and we're talking about this conversation, and literally like 80 stories came tumbling out of Marc's mouth and my brother's. So we're picking a couple, and I don't want people to get the misimpression that Marc, who has enormous talents, wanders into success, wanders into a $1 billion company, wanders into um, the great success, ownership of a basketball team, and all the other things that have like it takes work. Can you explain a little more your work ethic starting when you were younger and up to this day?
yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one thing, um, that kind of ties in everything I've done success wise, it's been work ethic. Yeah, um,
I mean, I've seen it. Describe what you're like when you started diapers.com with Vinny, or when you started Jet, or when you're working on Wonder. By the way, you do multiple things at once. You're not just doing one thing. Um, what are your days like? What are your weekends like?
I mean, it's 100 hours a week. It's morning till night, 7 days a week. Um, it's pretty much nonstop. Um, you have to be able to multitask. You have to be able to like live an ordinary life, but at the same time keep thinking. Like so, you learn how to think while you're doing ordinary things. So that's even part of it too. Um, and you have to have that mentality that to put the time in even when the probability of success is low. I think that's the hardest part of it. I think it's easier if if I work 100 hours a week, then I get the output is directly proportional to the work. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing things that have a low probability of success inherently, it's much harder. It's much harder to work 100 hours a week and say, yeah, but there's an 80% chance I'm going to fail. Why am I working so hard? It's most likely not going to work. And that really is where I think the separations uh, created between others doing the same thing.
Yeah. Can we talk about a related concept? I was telling Vinny and Mark in the car that something that's always pissed me off is when they started the company diapers.com, because initially and it turned into other brands as well with other URLs. It was literally selling diapers on the internet. Maybe you may not know this, but my favorite part of that is that they marketed the website and the company with the slogan, "We're number one in number two," which I think is genius. Um, and what the thing that pissed me off is people would say, especially after they learned that you sold the company for over $500 million, it's like, oh, I should have come up with that idea. As if all you needed in life was to have a Snickers bar and come up with an idea that you could sell diapers on the internet, and then you can have $1 billion. Can you explain um, the the allocation in success between the idea and an actual vision and execution of the idea?
Yeah, it's never. It's like you just said. It's never about the idea, and ideas are very cheap. I think a lot of people are afraid they have a good idea and they're afraid to tell people and things. You want to tell everybody about your idea. Believe me, you can tell everyone, and it's never going to matter. No one's going to do it. It's very, very, very hard to raise capital and to go execute against it. Ideas are cheap. If you have a great idea, 100 or 1,000 people have the same idea out there. It comes down to being able to take risk, move fast, um, and put 100 hours a week in. That's the recipe right there.
Um, and failures you want to talk about that you learned from?
I mean, so many failures. I mean, I was fortunate that the end result of the companies I started worked out well, but a lot of failures along the way. Not one of the companies I started was just start to finish, and just kept going up and to the right. In every case, there was a near death experience with the company where it's sort of like last week of cash, last month of cash. Um, Even my current startup Wonder, after hundreds of millions of dollars invested in the company, we had 450 trucks on the road. We would basically cook food outside your door in a truck, Mercedes Sprinter van. And then like overnight, I had to tell the investors, the board, and the employees that we are taking revenue to zero. We are selling all the trucks, taking an $80 million loss on the trucks, and we're starting over with brick and mortar locations. Like, I would say that's a failure, um, but you have to be resilient and you have to just keep pushing on, right? So,
So can we talk about why you do what you do? Obviously, you've done very well. Some of the figures that were stated are very, very high numbers. We took a ride down in your car, which is a pretty sweet ride. Um, but I've always understood both you and Vinny, who have done very well financially, after taking a lot of risk and putting in a lot of hours. I mean, a lot of hours. It's not been about becoming wealthy or making money. It's about something else. What's the something else that it's actually about?
I usually talk about this as, you're either a mercenary or a missionary. And it's just what motivates you. It's not one's not right or wrong. But a mercenary is someone who's just motivated by money, and that's okay. And there's a lot of professions where that works really well. Um, but I would put myself in more the missionary bucket, which doesn't mean I don't like money. I still love money. Um, but it's what motivates me is the mission, is building something from nothing, creating something that brings people joy or some better life experience. Um, and it is a place where you can hire people, watch them flourish, watch their career flourish, watch them learn, and just you know build a sort of collective happiness, through whether it be employees, shareholders, customers, and that's what's really motivating
Um,
and fun.
yeah. Who do you like to work with? We're actually at the Randy School. You and my brother have been best friends for a million years,
43 years.
43 years. What's it like to start a company with your best friend from the Randy School?
It was incredible. Um, it's like it's very lonely being founder and CEO. All the weight is on your shoulders, and um, people that are not in that position don't understand what you're going through, how hard it is, the challenges, the risks, the pain, the ups and downs. Having your best friend with you in the company, um, you know, uh, there's somebody there to sort of share and talk things through with. We have a very complementary set of skills, so even better for us. I think
You talk like each other.
we do.
You know
Yes,
that?
we lived together for a long time too. So yeah,
Yeah. I live with him too. He doesn't talk like me. I don't know what the special sauce is. You spent that semester abroad in Stockholm.
we did. We did.
Any stories you want to tell from that time in
No, then he's like, no, don't tell any stories. Well, we did. We
Did
didn't
you
have.
do something entrepreneurial?
Well, we didn't have money, so like it was very, very expensive at that time. So we would.
He's got a look on his face like, what is he going to say?
No, no. We would just literally every night we just buy like a loaf of bread, and we'd split it, and then get a cheap bottle of wine, drink that, and then go out to the bars, and then we
You're going to leave it at that.
we would take the leftover drinks. Let's put it that way, because the beers are too expensive. That's not too bad, right? I don't think he's worried about what I'm going to say.
Um, I got to ask this question because we have young people here who, there's a lot of pressure on young people to do well, particularly at a school like this and other schools that are like this. What advice do you have for them? Or put it a different way, what do you wish someone had told you when you were like these folks in high school?
I think I would probably say that people spend a lot of time worrying about things that they've done in the past. Like, did I do that right? Should I have studied harder for that exam? There's like a lot of worry about stuff in the past that you can't change. And also a lot of worry and thinking about things that may go wrong in the future. What if I don't get an A on that exam? What if I don't get in this college? What if I don't do that? There's like a lot of like wasted time. And I guess one of the things I learned as an entrepreneur, and I wish I could take that back, is as an entrepreneur, there's no time to like worry about things in the past or worry about things in the future. It's just go, and you're kind of in the now. But I think it's something that students could take away, which is just don't waste time worrying about things you can't change or worrying about things that might happen in the future. It's just every day, do the best you can today, and be patient. You don't need to have your whole life planned out. Like, I'm going to go to this college, get that job, get this internship, work for this person. If it's too prescriptive, you lose some of the creativity and some of the sort of, you just lose like maybe what drives you and what you're good at and what you're passionate about. And so I would say be patient. Things will happen the way they're meant to happen. Just put in the hard work every day and don't waste time. That's what I would say.
What are you excited about that's happening in the world of technology or business right now? Like, what do you think? What do you think the world is going to be like with AI or crypto or any of the other things that are sort of new to the world and the country that they're going to be experiencing and living with in 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years? Because I know you think about all these things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just got back from a trip from China, and they're much further ahead than us when it comes to robotics, autonomous vehicles, drones. Um, in Shenzhen, China, they've one company, Meituan, has done 300,000 drone deliveries from just getting a coffee or a smoothie at the office. They just come down the office. There's like a pod. They put in their number, and then the box comes out, and there's the iced coffee that was delivered by a drone. So I do think there's a lot of drone testing happening and autonomous vehicle testing happening in the U.S. I think we're getting really close to where that's going to break out soon, and it changes a lot of industries. If you think about um, what it does to open up the ability for cheaper transportation, right? Autonomous vehicles, but also cheaper food delivery. If food delivery is cheaper and the cost between grocery and cooked food decreases, do less people cook? It's starting to happen. I think AI obviously is impacting so many industries.
Can I ask about why is the U.S. behind on drones?
Um, I think one has to do with just the FAA in the case of drones. So I think to be more conservative. Um, but I think just in general, it's kind of ironic that in China, the cost of labor is so cheap that it doesn't economically make sense to invest so heavily in autonomous vehicles because it's so cheap to pay somebody to deliver or pay somebody to drive. And in a country like the US, where the labor is so expensive and it really pencils to have autonomous vehicles, we're not investing as aggressively. I think that definitely shows that we've got some work to do as a
Yeah.
country, you know.
Can I, the a question that I get a lot is who are your role models? Who do you admire? I always find it a difficult question to answer because I think there are a lot of people if you have a lot of interests. But is there any person or any people, whether in sports or business or in leadership positions or not, or in your family that you look to for guidance and inspiration in your successful career?
I think, like you said, it's tough because there's a lot of different people that in different ways influence you. Um, but I kind of share what Vinny said too. I think I've learned so much from Vinny. I think Vinny would probably be, um, the most impactful person in my life in terms of developing as a person, not only in business, but when I got to the Randy School, I again was
To remind people how old you were?
10 years old.
10 years
Yeah, I
old.
was 10 years old, had this thick accent, wasn't an academic coming into, but also, you know,
And you assume Vinny was Italian.
yeah, everyone still does, by the way, when I say Vinny, but, um, when I got to Randy School, I had come from Staten Island, New York, lived in a little bubble with everyone was Catholic and either you're Italian or Irish. I didn't know anyone who was a different nationality, uh, someone different religion. It was all new to me. And so imagine getting thrown in fifth grade with this thick, you know, accent from Staten Island, and all folks in my class were very diverse, whether it be, ethnic diversity, religion, even economic diversity. It was a very well-rounded class for 34 students in the graduating class. And I think, Vinny really helped me, um, you know, navigate that, get through that. I learned a lot of my ability to read and write from Vinny actually. Um, whether he did it for me and then I can learn from that, which was very helpful. Um,
The statute of limitations has expired. All right, so okay, Vinny's great. I know that. So people may not realize this. Vinny and I also started a company together. Mostly Vinny's work. We started a media company and sold it to Vox Media. That's the company under which my podcasts are done and other podcasts are done. Um, we never fought once, which people find hard to believe that siblings. It's not like Succession, at least in our experience. Did you and Vinny ever fight?
Not really, no. I don't think so. No.
So the common
No.
denominator is him.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
you and I probably fight a little bit. Um, do we so other than Vinny, any other folks who were models for you or role models for you?
I mean, definitely, I think Mrs. Capel said that growing up had a really big influence on my life. Um,
Any sports figures? Who do you admire now that you're fully formed adult?
yeah. Um, I mean,
I mean, look, you're big into sports. We talked about the track team. Do you have any general thoughts about the future, not just of professional basketball, but sports in this country and the business of it?
I mean, we can see I mean, I think the trend is pretty self-evident that, baseball is on the decline
Yeah.
and basketball and football are sort of the sports of choice
Yeah.
now.
Why is that?
Um, I think younger generation and attention span, and they're used to social media clips being shorter, faster. Um, it's sitting through a baseball game. I know they've made it faster, but
Yeah.
it's kind of takes a long time to get through it. It's not quite cricket, but it is like it's definitely it's not basketball where there's a basket, back and forth every X number of seconds. So I think that has something to do
Are
with
you surprised at like, where did you when you were at Randy and in grade school, we all played soccer, and we were told that soccer was going to become the preeminent sport in the country. That really hasn't happened. Do you have a view on soccer?
I mean, I think we still are behind, right, in the U.S., but men, not women. Women's sports, soccer's, great globally. So I think some of the best athletes in the U.S. still gravitate toward football, basketball, baseball, right? So um, I think until that changes, we're gonna continue to lag the rest of the world in soccer.
Before we get to, we have some student questions.
I also have one thing you just reminded me.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I have to say, like, when this, like, how well Randy School does in sports now is so impressive.
It
You
is.
just mentioned sports is so impressive. Like when I heard about the state championships and some of the people going on to professional sports, it's unreal relative to what it was like back in 1989 when I graduated. And I just wanted to tell one story because I think people get a kick out
Yeah,
of this.
please.
So we were so bad at sports back in 1989 that we had a baseball team. And I know we're really good at baseball now, but we had only really one or two, I think two pitchers that could pitch. They both, for whatever reason, couldn't pitch that day. So there was no pitcher. There was a game under the lights, a big game, baseball game. And I was, you know, track guy, good athlete.
Future bobsledder.
So the coach was desperate and he came up to me and goes, "Hey, Mark, listen, we got a game tonight. Can you pitch?" And I said, "What do you mean pitch? Like what? Like baseball pitch?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play wiffle ball, whatever. I'll do pitch." So he gets a guy, the catcher, and he goes there and he gives me a hard ball and he goes, "All right, I'm gonna just come on, go." And so I'm throwing the ball and he's like, "That's good enough. All right, tonight, 7 o'clock, you're pitching." This is like under the lights, like a proper high school baseball game. And he had baseball pants, but no shirt. The only shirt I had was like a muscle tee because I was like going to the gym. So it's like a cut off with short stuff there. And so I get there under the lights, um, beam the first guy, and kind of settle in to a 20-run mercy rule after 3 innings. We yeah, they called the game, but it was so bad that the shortstop would move out of the way when the ball was hit. It was hit so violently that they jumped out of the way. So we've come a long way, is my point.
What'd you learn from that?
um, improvise. But
Look, and failures like that have become really good stories
Yeah.
when you get inducted into the Hall of Fame at your high school years later. So we have some student questions in like 2 minutes, but I wanted you to get the opportunity to show people what I know about you, which is, excuse me, um, just how much you think about the world, how much you think about innovation, not just in these companies that you've started, but your real lifelong passion project, which is to establish from scratch somewhere in the United States a sustainable, modern, democratic, prosperous new city, which you have a project in furtherance of that called Tolosa. In 2 minutes, can you talk about what you think the future of cities should be?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why it wasn't that I had an interest in building a city per se, but just was watching how divided America was becoming, and just felt like there had to be a better way. Um, and like I studied what was happening and read a book called Progress and Poverty by Henry George, and I was convinced through the economic argument that the reason why we always have a class of people just barely getting by is because of land ownership at the end of the day is a monopoly. And uh, people that own land extract as much value as they can before people are no longer willing to work. And so it's sort of by definition, it's always going to be that way. And I thought, well, why does it have to be that way? What if we started a city from scratch called Tolosa? And what if the community foundation bought worthless land in the desert? So the land's, think about it, worthless. And people moved to this city, and the city was built from nothing, that the foundation, the Tolosa Foundation, would have incredible wealth through the appreciation of the land from being a desert to a modern city. And what if that foundation then would create an endowment and give that money back to the citizens in the form of the most advanced social services anywhere in the world, without having to charge higher taxes for it? You can get the best of both worlds, of lower taxes, but also incredible social services, and create a more equitable society. Um, and that's really like was like the vision behind it.
And you put a substantial amount of your own money into that project. Okay, so look forward to one day living in Tolosa. Until then, I think we have some student questions over here.
Right, they're right over here. So I'm just thank you. First of all, thank you for this conversation. I'm gonna get out of the way. We have 3 student questions for you. They're all gonna be right over here.
Hi, Mr. Laurie. Thank you again. I really appreciate you coming. I'm Zach. I'm a senior here. So in past interviews, you described being in a sixth gear when you're fully committed with your work and you're willing to take risks. So how is it challenging is it to separate from ventures like diapers.com or jet.com after you invest so much effort? And what factors guide your decision on when it's time to sell and shift focus to a new project?
Yeah, so you never go into any of these startups wanting to sell. I think the goal is to create a long-standing brand, and eventually you need liquidity. You go public, and shareholders can turn over. But the idea is not to sell it. I think you have to recognize though, um, when is the right time, and it. I think in the case of diapers, in the case of Jet, for different reasons. In the case of diapers.com, it was Amazon was directly attacking us and made it very, very challenging to raise money under those circumstances. And um, felt like that was the right time there. With respect to Jet, it was hard to, you know, it was two years into starting that company, burning $40 million a month, and Walmart really wanted it, and so they paid a good price for it. I think in that case, it was more Walmart was handing us the keys to go take Jet and Walmart and go build something much bigger and greater. So as somebody wearing the sort of mission hat was great because it was more fun doing it with Walmart together than doing it alone. So it depends on it's different reasons. But in terms of sixth gear, um, that's something that it feels like almost like a life or death situation. It is where you become hyper focused, and you're just thinking all day, every day, every minute at very fast speeds, and trying to iterate and trying to figure out a way out. And that's basically what it is. Uh, Entrepreneurship is hard. It's like I say, it's like eating glass every day and just hoping you don't get cut on the way down. Like that. That's what it feels like. It's really, really hard. It's People might be thinking that would be a great career, and it can be for the right type of person, but it's also really hard. You give up a lot. You give up, you know, time with family and friends. You give up a lot of stuff, and it's very, very hard. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Laurie. My name is Connolly Chavez, and I'm a senior here at Ranny. And my question is, during the earlier stages of your entrepreneurial career, while working on your various enterprises, did you ever face moments where people didn't take you as seriously because you were young and new to the industry? And if so, how did you push through that? What advice would you give to others, like the students in the audience, who may face similar situations in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, people still don't take me seriously, believe it or not. So, like, I just raised, a $700 million round for Wonder, and I did like 325 1 hour or 90-minute pitches. Out of those 325 pitches, and now I've got a good background, you can say, but only about 20 investors actually invested. So that means 300 passes, right? Like they didn't take me seriously. They still don't, right? It's the way of the world as an entrepreneur. You have to be prepared to get rejected a lot. And you can't listen. If I listened to all 300 people and the reasons why they said no, I'd be just chasing my tail. You have to have a clear vision. Spend a lot of time. It's like a piece of clay. Keep molding that vision, molding the vision. But when you get like convicted on that vision and you're willing to put in 100 hours a week and do whatever it takes, don't let anybody take you off that. There's a lot of different paths to get there, and those paths can change, but don't ever give up on that vision and just stay resilient along the way.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mr. Laurie. My name is Izzy Chigueras. I'm a senior, and I was wondering, how has your leadership style evolved through your various experiences, and what principles guide you in the decisions that you make?
Yeah, that's a great one. It definitely has evolved a lot over time, so it's hard to know how I got here. Now, I mean, I'm very focused on what I call VCP, Vision Capital People. I think that's where 90% of my thought is focused. When I say vision, I mean, again, that North Star vision and the strategy to get there and the structure, org structure to support it. Capital is really important. I can spend hours talking about that. And then people is probably the most important and least really understood aspect of success in anything you do, business, entrepreneurship. How do you attract the very best people, and not only attract them, but get the very best that they've got to give? It really comes down to culture, and how do you create that culture that the very best people want to work and give you the very best they've got? And I think I've and this has evolved over time, but I really think it comes down to the basic elements of any great relationship. It is like respect, communication, listening, being fair, not having an ego, um, treating people as you want to be treated. And I think that builds incredible trust and loyalty. And from that, people feel more safe to be empowered to take risks and do things because they're trusted. And it's hard to just say, I'm going to create that. So I think you have to live that as a founder yourself. And so it really starts with you as the founder or in business. It's living those values and hiring other people that can um, carry those same values forward. And so that becomes a really, really important part of the magic. If you have a clear vision, clear strategy, and it's a big market that's growing, so the timing's right, um, and you've got the very best people in the world, and they're motivated to give your very best, you can't lose. So,
Thank you.
We have one more short presentation. As you've heard, Marc's accomplishments truly are legendary, and I'm sure that I'm not alone in being inspired by those. You remind us that you're the moonshot seeker, what's possible. You're leaving an indelible impact on the world, and we all look forward to witnessing your continued success, Marc.
thank you.
I am very proud today to announce that Marc is partnering with us here at Ranny to make a transformative impact. Marc has agreed to be a part of a vision to build a new state-of-the-art athletic field house here at Ranny, one that will transform our school's ability. One that is going to transform our school's ability to foster students' resilience, leadership, collaboration, and discipline beyond even athletics. So we're proud to have made great strides in developing our athletic program over the years, as you discussed, but this will truly catapult us to the next level. So though we are only in the dream stage of this vision, to demonstrate his commitment, Marc has donated already a $1 million gift to seed a capital campaign for the new field house.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Hey, I'm on.
Nice to meet you. I'm Ryan.
Very good.